And we're back.
Oh my god. Midnight Princess.
Tarun's talking about life.
Yeah, this is our second attempt doing this. Anyways, we're back. We're live.
Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new edition of Shooting the Shetty. And this episode, we'll be giving a shout out to Baba Booey.
Wait, is it Shoot the Shetty or Shooting the Shetty? I think I mistitled this whole thing.
What did I say?
You said shooting.
Oh, well, whatever.
Okay.
But anyway, back on track. We are live coming at you, WNBC. We are going to talk about the king of all media, Howard Stern.
Yeah.
And some other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, his book came out. I already forgot the title of it.
Howard Stern comes again.
Right.
So as you can tell, I'm kind of a big fan of Howard Stern. So I'll be trying to drop as many references as I can throughout the podcast. Hit him with the hind.
Well, I know Howard Stern, and I do listen to it, but it's not as avid as Shawn does. But I can definitely follow along, and I do love. I watch all the stuff on YouTube, his clips, and I had it on my car up until like a month ago. But I think he's pretty great.
Who's high pitch? Okay. Anyway, we are talking about Howard Stern because one, I've become an avid fan of his for the past only 5 years. I mean, I knew him. I remember going to the theaters to see Private Parts, which I thought was an amazing movie, amazing comedy movie. We're just going to talk about how Howard kind of evolved. One of the big things he's pushing in his book and some of the appearances he had on late night shows and talk shows was that he has evolved as a person since he started radio.
Wait, well, first of all, do we need to set up Howard Stern just in general? Because you know what, a friend of mine who was a lot younger, I asked her about Howard Stern. She goes, "Oh, that's the guy from America's Got Talent." Right, so I feel like there's a whole like generation gap. So when you set up, I know it's kind of idiotic, but
yeah, no. So
give like a
Howard
highlight
Stern, he's a radio DJ personality. He kind of one of the first ones to start the whole thing of becoming a personality on the radio. There were others, but he is the first one to kind of encompass what it means to be a personality and become number one on the radio. He started in small markets, and eventually he found the people he needed to work with to get big, like Robin, who's his sidekick, a huge part of the show, Fred, who runs the board, Baba Booey, Gary Delabante, who's his producer. And, he became the first nationally syndicated radio talk show personality. And a lot of that had to do with his crazy antics on the radio. He was pushing the boundaries of what conventional FM, AM radio was. He was always talking about sex or farting or going to the bathroom or whatever the stuff you're not supposed to talk about or you're not allowed to talk about. And he was able to get people to talk when he brought people into the studio. In the old days, in the 90s, 80s and 90s, he would talk to different, kind of people, like the porn stars and the freaks, for lack of a better word. And, that's what he became known for. But heading into the 21st century, he switched over to satellite radio. He kind of changed his tactics and it became less about shock jock and more about serious interviewing. And that's when he started getting the big people. The big gets are like movie stars, rock legends, whoever was big in even like doctors and philosophers or things like that. He's able to get these people on the radio, talk to them uninterrupted for an hour or more, and really get the scoop on who these people are and what their journey was. Uh, so yeah, and he's in his promotions for this new book. He really talks about therapy and how therapy has changed him, and he kind of realized he didn't need to be a shock jock to be popular. He had this narcissistic need to be fun, and that's what caused him to do all these crazy antics. But he's like, no, let's try something else. Let's actually be interested in the other person. So that's his evolution, from shock jock to interviewer, almost like a Barbara Walters.
Right.
I think he's taken over Barbara Walters' top spot. But that's who he is in a nutshell.
So what? How come it was only 5 years ago you got into him?
That's when I got satellite radio for my car.
Oh, okay. I mean, did you hear? I mean, you must heard him before though, like when he's on the
Yeah,
radio.
yeah, no. Actually, I remember in high school, it was always played at weird times. It's a syndicated radio show, and they'd play it at night. So I wasn't really, like 8 o'clock at night. I wasn't listening to radio then
So,
unless I was
so
driving.
Sean actually went to medical school in India. So, is there like a guy, like a shock jock guy, like in India? It was like, okay,
Yeah. It's Crazy Ravi,
then we're going to tip cows over.
Crazy Ravi, and the Zoo Crew.
No, that's cool. I mean, I think, I mean, he's got this really rabid fan base, and they're really loyal too. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Uh, yeah. So just to jump on that, actually, his fan base is so rabid and loyal, they actually turned on him.
Mm.
Because of his new outlook on life. A lot of his fans from the early days are saying, he's become fake, weak. He's lost his edge. But he grew as an artist, I guess, and I think that happens to a lot of people. They kind of want the same thing, and he has the need to just grow and do something different.
So, what are we talking about? We're talking about Stern and his evolution. Oh, I don't. Did you hear that?
Sorry about that. Yeah,
Oh,
sorry
sorry.
about that.
Okay. No, you know what? What's most interesting to me about Howard Stern is when I used to listen back in the day, because I remember he was on was it I forget the station, K something, I forget what it was in New York. But when I was in college, he was on was it K Rock maybe?
K Rock was L.A. He was in L.A. for a while, but yeah, it's nationally syndicated to other stations.
Yeah. When I used to hear him on the radio, it was more of that, more fart man stuff and sex stuff, and it was that was always like whatever to me. I never like even really bought into that. Even I don't remember the MTV appearance he had, back in the day, where he like he comes from the roof or something. I don't know what happens, but he's like half
Right, right.
naked.
He dressed up as Fart Man. Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed kind of like I wasn't that into it. I'm sure it's funny to some people, but I was like, okay, this is interesting. But I really like, and I've had this discussion with you. I really like his interviews. A lot of people don't like his interviews, but I really like them. I think I really like uh, the kind of organic, the way they kind of just happen, and I like them.
Right, right. And he talks about that in his new book, how he took it off himself and really focused on the guest instead. So that's why his interviews have been something he's been known for the past 5 to 10 years. The person's just sitting down for a conversation for an hour, and you don't get that in any other form of entertainment. The late night talk shows is it's about 5 minutes, and they're just selling whatever TV show movie they're on. So he really gets into where the person is coming from, how they came up, what challenges they had. Uh, uh, like he'll still delve into the funny stuff. He'll ask them about their sex life or whatever, but it's become a lot more in depth, and that's yeah. His interviews are something where I've been in the car and I just kind of sit there listening to it when I've been driving, and then I get to where I'm going. I just sit there and listen to finish it up.
So, do you actually listen to the full? Is it 4 hours? His show.
Oh yeah, of course.
So you listen from A to Z, 4 hours of your
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
I've actually never done. So how is the actual format of the show? Does he just do like walk me through that? Because I don't really don't. The only thing I really see of his even when I had Sirius, I'd always hear like chunks of it at a time. So he doesn't just do all interviews, right? Isn't it more like sketches and in-house
yeah.
stuff?
It's a whole bunch of stuff. He's got a whole crew. It revolves around. It's his show, so it starts with him. He starts with talking about his day or what he's watching, what he's listening to, what he's pissed off about, or if he's not feeling good. One of the amazing things is that after listening to him for 5 years straight, like he can talk about nothing, but still you're kind of engrossed somehow. And even though it might be boring, even the subject matter is like, I couldn't make duty, or something, or it's like, I didn't have my sandwich at the right time. I'm all fucking upset. You're like, why am I listening to this? But then you're like, it's actually kind of interesting. That's his power. But also, it helps to have Robin. Robin's always there. She's great. So he talks to Robin. Fred is great with the soundboard, and then he talks with the crew. There's Gary. There's his limo driver Ronnie. Um, JD. Benji is one of the writers who's super annoying. Then he'll just talk about whatever is happening, politics, events. Then he'll do like phony phone calls with the two of the writers, Richard Christie and Sal Governale. It's just a free form. It seems like free form, but I'm sure it's very highly regimented. Uh,
Yeah, I
then
remember. No, go ahead.
yeah.
No, I remember a couple years ago. There was like a notice when I was working behind the scenes for writers for the show. Like they were hiring writers, and that was news to me. I didn't know that they had like staffed writers on that show. I don't know how that operation works because
Oh yeah. I mean, because they have different radio bits, and then it's usually prank calls or they have different impersonators on. Yeah, you the whole deal is try to make it feel like it's not written, but it is written, and they have a huge staff actually to keep it running.
yeah, I was surprised. I don't know if you saw the all those interviews on like CBS, ABC because he's making the rounds.
Well, that's what
And
I've been talking about. Yeah.
yeah, and so when they went into his office, I couldn't believe that. I was like, oh my god, this is a leviathan of a machine. There's so many people staffed on that. I think he said 60 people. Is that what it
Mhm.
was?
Yeah, yeah.
Have you seen now? I mean, I actually loved when I do watch YouTube clips of the old shows. I love everything with Artie Lang in it. Uh,
Really?
yeah, I think he was funny in that show for some reason. I just like that
Wait, wait.
dynamic.
You love everything but Artie Lang.
No, I liked Artie Lang.
Oh, okay.
I like Artie Lang.
Yeah, yeah. Artie was great. He was a perfect foil for Howard. Um, yeah, but he messed that up.
Did you see like an evolution within the cast too? Like, because I know like they went to like Jackie and Artie and all that stuff. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it seems to me Howard's always kind of been fair with the other people, and it's just when other people feel like they're not getting their due, they kind of get angry and leave. But it's the Howard Stern show. It's like everyone is there to listen to him. It's not like the Jackie or Stuttering John show. It's like if Howard goes, then they can take over. No, it's like they're accessories to him. So yeah, that's why you had Jackie Martling who left because he was unhappy. Uh, he thought he wasn't getting fair recognition, and then Stuttering John got another offer. And then Artie was perfect, but he just had too many uh, problems with drugs.
You know what? So I've seen. I met John Melendez at a friend of mine's wedding, a comedian's wedding, and I've seen Jackie back in New York. And I used to think, when they first left, I was kind of younger and naive. I was like, oh, these guys, probably wanted more money, da da da. And then I just realized, just working in showbiz, like there's two sides to every story. So I was like, I can't, just from what I heard from my friends, I was like, you know what? It's hard to judge why Jackie and those guys left. I mean, Artie thing, I think probably the drug stuff, but it's hard to really gauge, you know, who's right, who's wrong when people leave like that, because you don't know both sides of the story.
In this case, now we have history, and we both of those guys, we know they just wanted more money or more recognition, and I know Jackie wanted more money, and Stuttering John wanted more recognition, and their careers have kind of fallen by the wayside. So
Yeah,
yeah, if you're with Howard, just stick with Howard. But anyway, let's get back to
yeah.
some of the most interesting aspects of Howard. You when you did listen
Hmm.
on the radio, you listened to the interviews. That's what engrossed you the most, right?
Yeah. I like anything that's kind of honest and transparent, and I felt like some of those interviews just seem as close as you like. I really don't like watching, not to stray off topic. I really don't like watching network TV late night talk show interviews. I feel like they're just kind of canned and like scripted, and they're meant to like entertain. While a lot of the interviews like on Stern, they were just kind of right to the point. They're authentic, so I resonate more with that versus the canned laughter type of stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's no audience in the studio where Howard's talking to them. There's no one to make them laugh, or they have a pressure to make people laugh. So they're just talking honestly, and they can go. Howard goes to a lot of places. Like Howard just revealed that his favorite interview of all time was with Conan O'Brien, and that's because they talked about depression and anxiety. And that's something you can't talk about in late night television, or you know.
Yeah, and we'll talk about depression more after. We got to take a break for our sponsors real quick. We'll be right back, and we're back. All right, that wasn't too awkward, but so
Anyway, back to depression.
did you hear that interview with Conan O'Brien?
I actually listened. I I heard it sometime, but I actually listened to their conversation when Howard revealed that Conan was his favorite interview. So they had another like 45-minute discussion. I'm just these guys are just two masters, just having a conversation, and it's really great.
I mean, there's actually a pretty funny interview. It's on YouTube. I've seen the one where Conan's on the show and like they're tormenting him with like Jackie the puppet.
Yeah, no, they brought that up, and Howard's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry about that." Conan was like, "Are you kidding me? I love that. I love the Jackie."
Yeah.
And yeah, no, and the weird thing is, as Howard is such a type A individual, where he feels like he can't connect with people, and so he thinks he can connect with Conan, and then he's like, can I actually be friends with you? And they're both discussing, and they're like, I don't know. It's like it becomes a little awkward where they're just kind of like, yeah, we're probably not going to be friends.
I can't imagine. He's tight with like Jimmy Kimmel, right? Isn't he like boys with him?
Yeah, so I just listened to another interview with Adam Carolla, just aired a couple weeks ago. It was great. It was a great interview. Adam Carolla was great. It turns out, like, when Jimmy was coming up, his goal was just to be able to hang out with people he loved in entertainment. It was like Howard. Howard was one. I think like Don Rinkles was
But Jimmy
another.
Kimmel's a radio guy, right? Wasn't he a Florida radio guy?
He yeah, he started out in radio, and yeah, he just worked his way up.
Um, so you recommended to me. I didn't buy the book, but I did read. Sean recommended that I should read the sample on Amazon, and that was it. That was a good intro. I thought if he wrote that, it was pretty decent. Sets it up and goes through his anxiety and his cancer scare. And did you actually buy the book? Did you just read the sample?
I no, I have yet to buy the book. I'm waiting for a good time when I have time. But no, I think one of the good takeaways is how much he talks about therapy, and it's kind of interesting. You know, he says therapy has made him softer, a little gentler, and I'm I don't think he would be where he is now if he had therapy in the 90s or 80s. Uh, it was his edge. It was just his manic, obsessive compulsiveness to be number one on the radio that made him the king of all media, made him be number one on the radio. So, yeah, it's kind of weird.
Dude, I
How
cannot imagine going to therapy 4 times a week. Have you gone to therapy before?
kind of, not really. Uh, but he's done it like he's done it like twice a day,
Dude,
four
all right.
times a week.
For those listening, I'm sure you guys get it. So I went once a couple years ago for like 3 months, 4 months. Then I went again, like I think last year, 2 years ago for like 4 months. And even those 1 week sessions, you're like, holy fuck, this is insane. And I can see why people get addicted to it because it's someone to listen to you. But to go 4 times a week or twice a day, I mean, that's
Yeah, that's who he is. That's how neurotic he is. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. He's still, you know, he's still funny. He's still edgy. I think he still likes to talk about, you know, third grade humor type of stuff. But yeah, I don't think he'd be the same if he had therapy in the 80s or 90s.
what did you think about that intro, the book intro?
Yeah, I thought it was great. It was honest, candid. I didn't know that he was just going to sign off originally. The publisher came to him and said, "Look, we're just going to publish some of your best interviews, and then that's it. That's all. You
Yeah,
don't
it's
have to do
great.
any work." Yeah, and he's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Give me the money, whatever." Then he thought about it. It's like, what the fuck? I gotta do something. You know, this is not who I am. These aren't my favorite interviews. So he did some work, and yeah, even though the book is full of just transcripts from past interviews, you know, he analyzes them. He kind of takes away uh, what he got out of those interviews, and I think that's great. Yeah.
Do you think just with where we are, like in terms of all this podcasting stuff, that like there'll be another Howard Stern, or do you think he'll have longevity in his own show? Like,
So I think the great thing he did with his career is go to satellite. You know, they have all this content. He only has, I think, a year and a half left on his contract right now. So he could possibly retire in 2020. But satellite has all these, you know, all the shows. They could keep replaying it over and over for the next 40 years, and there still be plenty of material. Um,
how old is he?
he's is 60, 65, I think.
That's not too bad, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, you know, but he has his regimen. He could do a show at like 2 in the afternoon, but he needs to do it at, you know, in the morning. That means go to sleep at like, you know, 8 o'clock at night to get ready and be prepared for the show the next morning. Just crazy. You know, he has the option. He's always, since he got into satellite radio, he's had the option to do it at any time. But he's like, no, I got to do it in the morning. That's it. that's my schedule.
Yeah, it's probably good to get out of the
Uh,
way, right? Wake up and do it, and just rest of
I
the day off.
guess. I mean, he could do it at, you know, 3 o'clock in the afternoon,
Does he
four
live in New
hours.
York, or does he commute from somewhere? I don't know. I'm asking you these personal
Yeah, that's
questions.
another thing. He could just broadcast. He could just have his own broadcast booth in Florida, and just talk to Robin, who could be in New York, and Fred in New York. No, but he lives in Florida. Lives in New York, and just goes down on vacation to Florida. Um, yeah, so he is about work ethic. He's always been about the work ethic.
Yeah, and
But to your original question, would there be another like him? I don't think so. Someone who could make a movie about their life and have a TV show and a radio show and be accepted uh, on TV like a talent show. No, that's why he's called the king of all media. And I think Joe Rogan might come close, or Mark Maron with their podcasts. They become famous for that, but uh, no one is going to touch Howard.
yeah, I think also just the more markets change because like back when he was on, I mean, to get your own radio show, which is something we discussed, yesterday. To get your own radio show is pretty hard to do. To have like a major radio station give you your own show and then you build it up. It's hard to do. The thing with these podcasts, anybody can have a podcast. Even these two Indian guys, random places, can have a podcast.
And that's why Howard hates podcasts, because he thinks, radio, not anybody can do it. You were chosen. Uh, and with podcasts, anybody can do it. You can be not taken away from plumbers or anything, but you could have a plumber podcast, which maybe there are. I don't know, but
Yeah, and you can have a niche audience, which can do really well.
right, right, which is totally different from Howard, who had to capture every single person in their car. It wasn't a niche. It wasn't. You know, he wanted everyone 18 to 80, male and female, listening to
Yeah,
his show.
he got into it with Ari Shafir, who I started with as a comedian in LA. And Ari's a guy, if you know Ari Shafir is, but Ari's like really outspoken. And when Howard mentioned him on the station, Ari like went at Howard Stern, clearly just to get like recognition. When it worked, totally worked. And the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, dude, I mean, Howard, like these guys, there's this hundreds of podcasters out there, like they're not going to stop, and it keeps building, man. Every time you think there's old school logic, even when Mark Maron had his podcast, they were like, "Oh, he's already had a podcast. There's not room for another person." Guess what? There's room for people, and they're all making money, and they all have an audience. So it's really diversified.
Yeah, yeah, and I think how you get the entertainment or podcast from has really changed. You're not stuck to your car. It's all on your radio. I mean, all on your phone. You can listen anywhere.
So, do you personally think, as a fan, that he's got enough to carry the show for the next 4 or 5? Do you think he'll renew his contract?
I think,
From tapping his phones
yeah.
and stalking him, do you have any inside information?
I'm like Bobo. Bobo the super fan, the worst caller. I've stalked him, and I found out that he will be renewing. No, I think he'll renew. I think he loves it. I think he loves talking to celebrities now. Back in the day, he was anti-celebrity. If he got somebody in the studio, he would have make fun of them, or put them down, and just kind of find out their dirty secrets. Now, like I said, he's become the Barbara Walters type, where he's just trying to do in-depth discussions, and I think he has a lot more people he wants to interview before he retires. Definitely, I think Mick Jagger would be a great
Sure.
get. He's already gotten Robert Plant. So I'm a super fan of Howard's. So let's just talk about how, yeah, he doesn't always get it right. His interview questions can be kind of stupid and awkward sometimes. He does have a little bit of narcissism where he directs it on himself. If there's an actor or actress he's talking to, he'll bring up his movie and how he acted in the movie, and how he always had to pretend to be in love with the love interest, and he'd be like, "Isn't that what you felt?" And the person would be like, "No, I didn't feel
That's
that.
funny.
It's acting."
But I like that. I really think that art should not be this perfect infallible thing. I think there should be imperfections, and I like the fact that he makes mistakes. It can make him more human.
Yeah, no, I'm not. It's not really mistakes. It's just he's still. It's funny where he talks about narcissism, but he still has narcissism. It's plenty of narcissism still
Oh yeah,
there.
dude,
You
do this
know.
business. I mean, we're narcissists. I mean, who the hell wants to hear two guys talk about their opinions? Like,
Right. Right.
I think Anthony Bourdain said that. He said, "Hey, if you're writing a book, and, anybody entertainment, you're kind of a narcissist to think that people want to listen or read about you or hear your opinion."
Right. Right. And you kind of have to be. Same thing with politicians. You have to constantly want to hear your voice and be seen everywhere.
Okay, this is just a random question because you know a lot. Is that his real hair, Howard Stern? Because I don't have hair like
So
that, dude, and my hair is like thinning, but like, and I'm like half this guy's age.
how Howard always says he's transparent and tells the truth. According to him, that's his real hair.
There's no way, dude.
It's
No
still
way.
long. It's still dark, and he doesn't dye it. Uh, I don't know. I think his narcissism is hiding something. Is it possible for a 67-year-old man to have that type of hair? Possibly. I haven't really
Hey,
seen
you
it.
know what? If that's what it takes to keep the show going and for his interviews for him to be secure, so be it. I can live with that.
Right. Right.
Who are your favorites? So Sean and I, we go back and forth because they're, I don't know all the Whack Packers, but I do. He's got this group of like retarded people who work on the show.
They're not.
What? Come on, they're like borderline autism,
They're low IQ individuals.
right? And some of them are hilarious to me, but so we'll call each other back and forth, with impressions. Who is your favorite?
I mean, that's another aspect of him where he's dealing with celebrities, these high level people, but at the same time, he almost has like 40-minute discussions with high pitch Eric. I'm like, this is amazing. Or like Wendy
What's her name?
from Florida.
Wendy
Uh,
Sloper. Her name was Wendy the retard at one point, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then he really had a soft spot for Eric the actor, or Eric the midget, as he was called before. And Eric was great because he would just give it back. He would just insult people all the time, and it was a great back and forth. So I actually was listening when they announced his death, and Howard was like, he was pretty broken up about
Sure.
it.
So Howard revealed his favorite interview. I don't feel like I'm qualified, but in the 5 years you've been listening, do you have a favorite interview that you liked?
Oh yeah, there's so many. You know what? I'm just gonna go out on the limb and kind of say like callers, random callers. He can make anybody interesting. Like he can have like a truck driver call up, and then if he wants to keep him on the phone, if he thinks there's interesting, he'll just find out about their life, and you're just like, wow, I just found out about this random guy's life that I have no idea who it is, and you're just kind of in entranced by it, and you're like, okay, that was a good interview. I have no idea who that is. I don't care.
Yeah, the circle means to connect with how he gives people a shot. To circle back to Artie, I heard that story how Artie got on. Did you see that first interview? He showed up with like Norm Macdonald. So Norm brought Artie on the show, and he would Howard Stern was like, "Dude, this guy Artie's hilarious. Let's have him back." And every time Artie would come on, he would just be himself, and Howard supported him even though he wasn't like a star or anything. You know?
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. He was like, and so he was talking about how when they were filling that, when Jackie left, they were trying to fill the chair, and Howard was like, he tried out Artie. He was like, this guy's good because he was like, I need someone who doesn't need to be told what to do, who doesn't need like all the setup and prep. And he was like, the only other person I could think of was Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Kimmel already had a show, so they were like, Artie's the go-to.
Hmm. Yeah, and Artie was already a huge fan of Howard's. I think he told a few stories of like uh, when he wasn't in entertainment, he would just listen to Howard and to get through the day and all that. And yeah, unfortunately, it didn't work out.
Well, he's not dead, I guess. So maybe there'll be a
Pretty
resurrection.
close.
Um,
It is pretty cool.
so what's left for Stern? Like, is he cutting back the days? Is he ramping up? Um,
No, I think he'll stay on for. I think he'll do these limited contracts where he might do like instead of 5-year contracts, he might do like a 2-year contract.
I remember. Oh, guys,
And
sorry,
yeah, I don't. He's already on 3 days a week, which is reduced from 5.
dude. There was a
Uh,
time when they let this guy do whatever he wanted on TV, like not like network TV, but like he'd have like these like ridiculous shows on like talk shows, or like he produced like this like weird. Remember that show called King of the Beach, Son of the
Son of the
Beach?
Beach.
It's like,
Yeah,
what the hell is
yeah,
this?
yeah, yeah.
It's like him. Yeah.
But that's so. I mean, we could go off on a whole nother tangent. Talking about how even though he's the king of all media, he's only really been successful in radio. I mean, he had his movie, which is just a comedy classic, but you know, he keeps talking about all these projects he can do on TV and all that. But it's his radio show that's really his bread and butter.
So, is one of your secret dreams to be on Howard Stern? What would you talk about?
Oh my god, that'd be amazing. Well, you can be. He did have at one point, if you donated a lot of money to his charity, he would let you sit in the studio. Then he would talk to the people, but I think he stopped that.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really good. It was funny. He would have like some guy who donated. He'd bring his hot wife, and they go into their history. Like he'd be like, be honest. If he didn't have money, you wouldn't marry him. The wife would be like, yeah, probably I wouldn't marry.
Yeah, yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the book is available. Are you gonna? So you're gonna buy the book? I'm assuming.
Yes, yes.
I read the first. I guess they have the two sample interviews up on the book because basically it's a transcript. So they have Madonna and Tracy Morgan. So it's kind of cool. I got to go back and now rewatch the interview with Madonna because he sets that up. Like she was like, they were trying to get it for like 30 years or something on that show.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But cool. All right. Well, there you go, man. Howard Stern, influence.
you, you said it all. You
Yeah.
said it all. Look at
Whenever we want to get off the phone,
look.
Sean always says, "You said it all," because that's what Howard Stern says.
Wrapping up the interview.
We've said it all.
You said it all.
All right. Well, check out Stern's book, feel free if you like our show to write in questions. I don't know where the hell these questions go to, but we appreciate the listens, the downloads, and yeah, we'll be back again whenever we feel like doing this.
And before we go, let me just say,
Great. Okay. Thanks, Sean. I'll see you.